So we'll be recording, and I want to welcome you all to DES104. This is our Photoshop image editing class, and so hopefully you guys are looking forward to this as much as I am. I'm very excited to be teaching this class. We're going to be working primarily with Photoshop. Have any of you used Photoshop before? I usually like to get a feel for who's used it, who's familiar with it. So if there's any yeses on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being expert, 1 being very beginner, what would you rate yourself at? Yes, a while back. So we're probably starting from the beginning stages, huh? Well, let me start the video. I just wanted to introduce myself, say hello. Don't mind that trampoline back there. We're taking it down. We're in the process of taking it down. Wanted to welcome you guys to DES 104. I am Mrs. Woodland, and I wanted to introduce myself and say hello from the West Coast. Anybody from the East Coast tonight? Yeah, okay, so it's probably going to get late over there for you. If at any time you need to leave, that is totally fine. I understand it's late over there. Let me just walk you guys through this course real quick. We're going to do a little brief housekeeping. I'm going to actually share my screen so that we're on the course homepage. I want to just show you guys a few places that you'll want to pay attention to as far as where to find information. And let me switch the screens here. We'll jump right into the course homepage. Okay, so you'll notice on the homepage really quick, everything usually is in the same spot if you've taken classes before, but I wanted to show you where I'll be posting our live lecture recordings. So under this tab called Live Lecture, it's got the Zoom logo on there. If you click on it, it will take you to the live sessions and recordings. So under week 1, lecture 2 will be posted right here. You've got a video. Hopefully you guys were able to watch this video. This will also help you with the installing of Adobe, and it will also teach you how to be successful in this course. It introduces you to Photoshop's workspace and basic tools. The thing about lecture 1 is that no matter what week we're on, is it's going to cover things that we're not going to have time to get to in our lecture. In the live lecture. So it's also going to cover other things. You'll be expected to know what's in both of them, but please take time to watch them. So lecture 2 will be posted here. It's posted 24 hours after the lecture time. So by tomorrow morning, you should have it up, maybe less than 24 hours. So by tomorrow morning, it should be posted. If you do not see it, please email me. I'll also post it under the announcements, and I also communicate to you guys through the announcements. So very rarely do I send out mass emails unless I'm trying to get a hold of you specifically. So here you'll see that there's a few announcements coming your way. So make sure that you pay attention to that. The most important one is the schedule. The other one is our welcome note with all the information you'll need. And I will be posting our learning coach. Wanda Bryant is our learning coach, and she's already sent me her schedule, so I'll be posting that under the announcements. If you need help, if our schedules don't align, if you've got work, family, other obligations getting in the way, and you need some one-on-one coaching or just help with the assignments, please reach out to her. She's usually in the Student Success Center most frequently, so please make sure that you go in there. Which brings me to my next point. If at any time between the lecture and the multi-session you need some help, or even after we've already talked and you have questions, please don't send an email and then wait for a response. I don't mind you reaching out to me, and that's fine. But if you need immediate help, please go see the Student Success Center. The tab is right here with the group of students. If you click on that, it will take you to the Student Success Center where all the tutors are waiting, standing by. Here's their hours. They're listed. Their schedule will vary day to day, but I believe they're open, all 6 or 7 days a week. And if you click here to enter the Student Success Center, it will take you through a few steps, and then once you are in, you're in. Has anyone visited the Student Success Center before? Is anyone familiar with it? Yeah, and it's not just for students who are struggling. I've had a lot of A students, very good designers, go to the Student Success Center just to get feedback on their assignments before they turned it in. And those students are the ones that get an A's in my class. So please don't, there's usually a stigma associated with the Student Success Center, kind of if you're failing or if you're not able to grasp the work, then you need to go there. That's not the case all the time. They're there to help students who are passing, failing, and in between. So please go use it. They're a great resource to use. All right, so this is where you'll get help if you need help during the week, and they're even open on Saturdays. And I know Saturday is a big deadline day. That's when all our assignments are due. So if you need some extra help, just check the hours of operation and it will tell you their schedule. Wanda Bryant's schedule will vary from week to week. So each week I'll post the new schedule and the announcements along with her contact information. So you can email her for some help. I'm more than happy to help. I'll probably invite you to come to the multi-session. And let's talk about the multi-session real quick. So do you guys know how the multi-sessions work? Have you been to one before? So our multi-session is going to be on Wednesday, so tomorrow at same time, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And it is 2 hours long, so same length as our lecture. The only difference is it will not be recorded and there is no lecture. It's basically kind of office hours, so if you want to come and go at your leisure, you're welcome to. I've had students come and work on assignments in class. It's a great way to introduce yourself to me so we can get to know each other, but also for me to be able to help you one-on-one with the assignments. And so it's a great way to come get your work done, and then you could even submit your assignment on the spot and receive a grade for it on the spot. So most students who choose that option wind up with perfect scores all around. So it's a great resource to use. So please come to the multi-session. They're worth your while, I promise. Okay, and then let's talk about this week's discussion. So not many students know this, but during the week, Wednesday is the deadline to get your first post in for the discussion. This is how we take attendance. I do accept late work, and we'll get into my late work policy in just a minute, but college policy prevents me from accepting late discussions. So these will not be accepted late. This is how we keep attendance in class and kind of gauge participation. So if you're active in class, you'll get points if you're doing it correctly. If you're not active and not posting, then you'll lose points. And these are easy ways to keep your grade up. If I've had students who turned in the assignments but never participated in the discussions, and it really hurt them. Some even failed. So please stay active in class. This is a way that we get to know each other, help each other out a little bit. It's a great resource, but it's also a required place to post. If you have visual examples, please share them. Just remember, if you quote somebody or share an image, we will need to see that in APA style APA citation here at the bottom. Now, if you're not familiar with how to do APA citation, if you simply go to Google and type in APA free generator, it's a little trick I use. There are a million of them. Just click one and then follow the steps. So if you're pulling from a website, you'll have to specify that. If you're pulling from a book, so you'll click the tab on which medium you're pulling from. So if it's a website, you'll click the website tab, and then it will ask you to enter in the website, and then you'll just follow the steps. Okay? Make sure you're on APA. Yeah, and then you'll just put the website in and click search websites and click the steps, and then it will give you your final APA citation that you can post in the discussion. So that's an easy way to kind of get those maximum points. Let's see, we're not there yet. All right, so I see a few students have already posted. That's wonderful, and I love these visual examples, so keep them coming. This is a great way to stay active in class. So please read the prompt and make sure you address the elements that they're asking for. Please be aware we're going to be talking about pixelated and raster images versus smooth vector images. And so I will have, we're going to go over that in class a little bit today, but this is what we'll be talking about. Then for our assignment 1, who's looked ahead a little bit? Who knows what we're going to be doing for assignment 1 this week? Anyone? No guesses? So we are going to actually be designing a desktop wallpaper And this is actually going to be a really fun assignment. I'm going to show you how to do it so you save time. This is meant to be fun and not overwhelming. So I know most of us are not very familiar with Photoshop, so we're going to get into it. We're going to dive in and talk about the tools a little bit. We won't get to all of them. That's what Lecture 1's recording is, but we will talk about some of the tools you'll need for this assignment. I'm going to demo all the assignments. I demo every assignment for every week, so you can automatically expect that. I will also try my best to post a shorter, condensed version on how to do the assignments later in the week. They may not be posted by tomorrow morning, but probably by Thursday you'll have a shorter version if that works with you in your schedule. But we will be talking about how to tackle this project from start to finish. So if you haven't already, please launch Photoshop on your computer. Who will be following along with me in Photoshop today? Anybody? Will you be working alongside with me, or do we not have Photoshop? And that probably brings me to another question. How many of you have Photoshop installed on your computer? Okay, good. All right, so we're good to go there. If you do not have it installed, you will need to contact I believe it's Sean, and you'll have to email him. You basically need to take an assessment quiz to get it. So it's down here. It says if this is your first design course, you haven't already received your Adobe Creative Cloud account and download it, you need to contact your faculty program advisor immediately. So this is the only way that you can get it. I don't have access to any of this information or installation codes or anything like that. So you will have to contact your FPA. If you don't know who it is, please email me and let me know, and I can put you in contact with them. But this is one thing I won't be able to help with. So if you don't have it and you're wondering how to get it and you haven't taken the assessment or the quiz, please let me know and I will point you in the right direction. Okay, so let's dive into this week's lecture. Good news in this class, I don't like to talk a lot, well, I should say, I don't like to lecture with slides. I like to get our hands dirty. I think we learn more when we're working with the software. So we'll do very little bit talking. This week's just an exception because we're just doing some housekeeping before we begin. So basically, we're going to be talking about 4 different techniques for making selections. We're going to be talking about how to modify images. We're going to navigate through Photoshop a little bit and learn the basics and the important things that you'll need to know to execute your assignments. We're going to talk about the key difference between raster and vector artwork. And we're going to identify and apply 3 of Photoshop's shape layers to produce images. And this is going to be a lot of fun. I feel like a big kid when I'm in Photoshop because it's just like being a big kid coloring book, basically. And that's kind of what we're going to be doing with our assessment 1. It's pretty neat. So are there any questions before I jump into any more? Any questions before we move forward? If not, we'll go ahead and continue. But feel free to interrupt me at any time if you have questions. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's talk about the structure a little bit of this class. If you're new to Photoshop, don't worry. I'm going to go at a snail's pace. I want to go slow enough so that everyone is grasping the concepts. If at any time I am going over a demo and you're totally lost or you missed a step, please feel free to let me know via chat and I can back up. I want to make sure that everyone's able to keep up. Things go quickly. There's a lot of steps, so I want to make sure we all understand it. Also, if something's not working on your computer and you're stuck, please let me know. I do like to have students share their screen, and I can you can be in the driver's seat and I'll step you through it, and I feel like students learn a lot better that way. I will probably ask if anyone wants to volunteer to share. I'll usually do a demo and then have you share your screen to show what you've come up with. If you're comfortable doing that, you can volunteer. If not, don't worry. I won't necessarily call on you. I just open that up. Students usually like to do that, and they like that opportunity to kind of be in the driver's seat. So again, if you're new to Photoshop, this is a beginner's course. This is what it's for. Let's talk about how to pass this class with flying colors. And I don't mean just skirting by. I mean, let's really pass this class and come up with portfolio-worthy work. If you attend or watch the weekly class lectures, that's number one. That's huge. Students who come regularly, 9 times out of 10 pass. There's just only if they're not very active in class or probably just sign in and walk away from their computer. But those who truly attend and participate in the weekly class lectures will grasp this work and usually get the assignments done in class if you follow along. If you take notes on paper, I do move quick. There's lots of steps. You can do screenshots. You can write, take notes as I go along. I'd be happy to to list the steps if you need. So that's another way to be successful. And then contact me immediately with questions. Don't wait till Saturday night or Friday night to say, I'm just now starting and I don't get it. But by then, there's no way I can help. So please let me know if you have a question. If it's a design question and you need help immediately, go to the Student Success Center, please, until I can get back to you. And we'll try to find a time to work things out. Turn your weekly work in before Saturday at midnight, because by Saturday night, everybody campus-wide is turning in their assignments, and a lot of students have slow internet connection, upload process is slow, things crash. We have a lot of problems because everyone's on it at the same time. So do yourself a favor and just give yourself a little bit more time earlier in that day to get it submitted. Then that's good. And then if you come to my multi-sessions and complete your work, or we work on the assignment together, you're able to submit it and get a grade right then and there. So that also saves the stress, and then enjoy your weekend. Then you don't have to worry about this. This is stress-free once you get that assignment turned in. Okay, so like I said, if you do not have Photoshop installed on your computer, you'll want to just follow the instructions at the IUGA community. Email Sean Gray here if you need assistance. Here's his email address. He's the one that deals with this. Unfortunately, I cannot help because I do not have the information. This is Sean's area of expertise, okay? All right, so let's take a brief tour of Photoshop before we jump into the software. Go ahead and pull your Photoshop up so you're looking at it. If you want to see screens side by side, simply hit the escape button. That will minimize the zoom screen, and then that will allow you to have your Photoshop open with the slides open. So this should help a little bit. Let me know if you have that view. Are you guys good? Are you able to see the slides and Photoshop at the same time? Okay, perfect. All right, we've got a yes. Okay, so first things first, let's look at Photoshop. When you open it up like this, it usually doesn't come open with a document. You'll have to set up a new document, but I wanted to step you through. Once you have a new document set up, this white area becomes your artboard. This is what we're going to be doing our work on. You'll see to the left, lots of different tools. This is our tools panel. I think of it as it's also called the toolbar. I think of it like a toolbox. It's kind of the collection of all the tools that you'll be needing for your work. And we'll go over what a few of these tools do. Hopefully by the end of the class, we will know what each one does and have used it. And so this is where you'll go. Sometimes it will have a double column view. Sometimes you'll just have it in one column view. And you can adjust those settings in Photoshop if you like. At the top here, you'll see the name of your Photoshop. Yeah, how do you get a blank document on your Photoshop? That's a great question. I will show you how to do that if you'll just bear with me. Let me see where we are. All right, let's get a blank document going. In fact, let's start on assignment 1. I think it'd be easier if we've got Photoshop open. Then we'll jump into the rest of class. Okay, so let me stop the screen share and bring up Photoshop. Here we go. So can everyone see my Photoshop okay? That coming in clear? All right, and if at any time I'm talking and you see like a blank screen or you don't see what I'm talking about, please let me know. Sometimes the share doesn't always go through. All right, so was it Janitra? Let's answer that question. So let's create a new document. So if you'll open up Photoshop, And I'm going to actually just have my assignment 1 side by side with me, and I encourage you to do that so you have the measurements and the dimensions as well. But I'm going to open up assignment 1 real quick, so hang tight. Perfect. Okay. We'll go over it in just a minute. All right, so let's create our document. So if you'll go to File, New, you can also hit Command N if you're on a Mac or Control N if you're on a PC. But if you go to File, New, it will bring up a new document panel. And please bear with me. When I run Zoom, it slows down my computer quite a bit. Okay, there we go. It's popping up. So you'll see your new document panel. Does everyone see this on your screen? Okay. Not just on my screen, but do you see, hopefully you're pulling it up as well. Do you guys have this new document panel? All right. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new document. So up here at the top, right, you're going to type in the name of your assignment. And we have a very specific way of naming things in this class, so please follow along. It is DES104 underscore assignment 1 underscore your first and last name. Okay? You'll also change the width to be 1024 pixels and the height to be 768 pixels. On the right, you'll see this drop-down menu. This is your measurement. This is your this is your unit of measurement. So we want it to be on pixels. So make sure pixels is highlighted. Everyone's Photoshop might default to something different. You can adjust that in the settings, but you can change it here, so it's no problem. So if yours defaults on inches, please make sure it's on pixels. Your artboard will look significantly different if you have it in inches. All right, and then the orientation we're going to keep horizontal. And then here's where you can click if you want multiple artboards, but in this case, we only need one. And then we're going to make sure our resolution says 72. So you'll simply type in 72 pixels per inch. And then you'll save your document as a PSD, which is the native Photoshop file. PSD just means it was created in Photoshop, okay? And then you'll give it that name. So name it however, whatever your first and last name. And then we'll hit create. So you'll notice that my document has a checkerboard pattern to it. All that means is it's going to have a transparent background. The options when you create a new document will ask you, do you want a transparent background or do you want it to have a white background? And personally, I prefer to have a transparent background when I'm starting something. I don't like having a layer of color behind my work. So it just saves me a step in the long run. So my background kind of has this checkerboard pattern. So Janitra, does that answer your question? Were you able to get a new document created? I want everyone to take a minute and try and pull up your assignment 1, and I want you to create a document at this size. Okay, that's no problem. If anyone would like to share their screen, I'd be more than happy to step them through it. Would anyone want to do that? So we'll do that one more time. We'll go to File, New. When your new document panel opens up, this is where you're going to name it and give it all the dimensions that, change the dimensions of it. So here's where you're going to name it. Then the width, you're going to give it the value 1024, and the height will be 768. The orientation will be horizontal. The resolution will be 72 pixels per inch. And then everything else remains the same. Here is where you get to specify what kind of background you want. And when you specify transparent, you'll get that checkerboard pattern, and that means that there's nothing on your background. So I prefer this transparent background. I'll hit create, and this is the document that I created. Is anyone getting stuck or having difficulty? I'd be more than happy to help you. Okay, Janitra, what I'll do is I'll close out my screen. If you'll hit that share screen button, it's got two windows kind of stacked. Do you see that share screen button? If you'll click it and share your screen with me, I would be happy to help step you through it. And keep in mind, I guarantee you the questions you have in this class, someone else is having while they're watching the recording. So this not only helps you, but it also helps other students who are watching and stuck too. All right, if you'll click that share screen icon, Janitra, got two windows, kind of the pyramids with the little sun. You see that? Takes a minute to find it, but once you see it, if you'll click it, it'll be on Zoom. Do you see it on Zoom? You're on it. If you click it, it should allow you to share your screen. Can you click it on Zoom, the share screen? Misty, how are you doing? Were you able to get the new document panel pulled up okay? Hey, Janitra, I'm going to unmute your mic real quick so you can talk. You don't have to use the chat box. Did you find that icon, the share screen icon?
Yes.
Were you able to click it?
Yes. Which one do I click?
So it looks like it has pyramids and a little sun, and it's got two window panels. Do you see it?
Do I click
Open the Photoshop.
You should be able to click it and it will ask you what you want to share. Is it working?
Should I click the Photoshop? I clicked the Photoshop.
And it's not working?
Should I click share screen? Or,
yeah. There you go. Great job.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to help you get set up. So you named it perfectly. Now, if you'll go to the width, you're going to the size is 1024. And then the height is 768. And we're going to change the measurement to pixels instead of inches. Do you see that on the right of 1,000? On the right side of width, there you go. Click, select pixels. You've got the orientation right. The resolution is 72, so we'll change that to 72.
What, instead of 300?
That's correct.
You said 72, right?
Yes, ma'am. 72. And then on the background, change it to transparent. Background contents right down there.
This one?
Scroll down. Does it let you select anything else? Maybe just background color?
Yeah, I want to do it.
Okay, that's fine. Hit create. Oops.
Oh, what happened?
Click share screen one more time. Was the height wrong? Thanks, Misty. I'll check it. Would you share your screen one more time, Janitra? I think we might have entered in the wrong value. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Ooh.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's go to, let me look at your screen. All right, would you grab the first tool on your toolbar, that little arrow looking symbol. It's your selection tool on the left-hand side. Yeah, there you go. Click that, and then just click on your artboard. All right, let's see. I think that looks right. So I think we're good. 768 was the value. Okay, so now that you have your Photoshop set up, now we're going to move on to the second part of the assessment. So you actually did half of the, the assignment already, and that was just getting the new document set up. So good job. We'll come back to you in just a minute. So I'm going to close out of this screen. And Misty, did you have any questions? Are you good to go to move forward? Okay. All right, so let's kind of get used to what Photoshop does and what it is real quick. I want to kind of step you guys through. Oh, you're still downloading? No problem. You can just watch. That's fine. All right. Sorry, I've got a million windows open. I'm trying to go through. All right, so a few things that you're going to need to go know how to do. The first thing is opening images and creating new images. The way that you'll open an image is if you go here at the top to File, Open, and then if you select a picture, it will pull it into Photoshop for you. So in the menu bar, you choose File, Open to open existing images. And my Photoshop just loves to think. Sorry, it's taken so long to think. Here we go. And once it opens up, you'll just find wherever you saved that picture that you're looking for. So in this case, I'm just going to open the Assessment 1 image that I downloaded earlier, and it will open it up for me. Okay? So to open an existing image, you go to File, Open. You can also hit Command Open or Control Open if you're on a PC. Command Open if you're on a Mac. In the menu bar, this is how you'll create a new document, just like we did. File, New, and then you follow the steps to create a new image from scratch, which is what we did here with our blank canvas. You'll select a document preset. You can customize the presets by typing in your own values, like the width and the height. So this is how to create a new image. The second thing that you'll want to know how to do is just get familiar with the work area. So we're going to take a little tour of the work area. What you're going to need to learn is the interface. So the menu bar here at the top, do you see this menu bar just across here? It shows the file, edit, image, and other menus that give you access to a variety of commands, adjustments, and panels. So if I open my window drop-down menu here, this menu bar, or the window, everything is alphabetical. And this is usually where all the tools are kind of hiding or being kept, I should say. So if you don't see the tool you're looking for here on the left-hand side on your toolbar, you can also just click on Window and most likely be able to find the actions or the adjustments or the commands you're looking for. So this window drop-down menu is very important. Edit is also a good one to know because Edit will allow you to basically step forward or step backward or undo something that you may have messed up on. Filters allow you to add effects. Layers will allow you to do anything that you need to adjust layers. You'll work with layers quite a bit. In fact, if you click on your window drop-down menu and go all the way down, make sure layers is selected. You can click on F7 on your keyboard as a quick shortcut to bring up your layers panel. And this is what it looks like right here. Okay, we'll get into layers a little bit more in just a minute, but this is what you'll be working with. We work with several layers in Photoshop. Have you guys worked with Photoshop at all? Are you familiar with layers and how they work? I like to kind of get a feel for where we're at. Okay, that's fine. All right, that just helps me know how to, what to go over. So the next thing you'll need to know is the tools panel, and that's this lovely little thing right here. This is the tools panel, and this tools panel is usually positioned on the left of your screen. It's movable, so you can move it wherever you want it to go. If you click the little, you have an X that will hide, that will actually click out of it. This double arrow on the right, if you click it, will allow you to go to the 2-column view that you often see, or you can do a single view where it's just all the way down. So it allows you to customize your display option. Now the toolbar contains tools for editing images and creating artwork, and this is basically what you're going to be working from for the assignments and all the assignments moving forward. Similar tools are usually grouped together. If you'll see this little triangle here at the bottom right of some of the tools, if you click it and hold, it opens up a whole other hidden collection of tools to use. So you're not limited to just what you see. Any tool that has a triangle here at the bottom right, if you click and hold, it will allow you to select other tools within that grouped section. Also, if you're unfamiliar with the toolbar, if you simply hover your mouse over it, it will give you the name of the tool, and in the parentheses is the keyboard shortcut for that tool. So if you wanted to access the marquee tool, what would be the keyboard shortcut? You see on my screen? Let's do that again. Hover over the marquee tool and tell me what the keyboard shortcut would be. It'd be the letter M, right? As you can see right down there in the parentheses. Perfect. So basically, these are just all the tools you're going to be using. We're going to go over a few. The first one that you'll need to know is the Move tool. You can access it by clicking V on your keyboard. V allows you to move images around, move objects, move text boxes, any element on the artboard, it allows you to move. So we'll be using the Move tool quite a bit. It can allow you to move a selection, an object, or even a layer. Let's talk about panels on the right. So you'll see that I've got a lot of panels here open. They have little tabs. You can also click and pull out a tab to be its own panel. So if I wanted each of these to be their own separate panel, I could just click and drag out. Or if I want to condense things, if I've got a lot of panels open, I can just click and drag them into each other. So it makes one big panel with lots of tabs. And I can even bring it into my Photoshop right-hand side column here. All right, so these panels include color, layers, properties, anything in your window drop-down menu here, it will create a panel for. So that's pretty nifty. You can find the full list of panels under the window menu, just like I showed you here. So there's lots of panels you can have open at one time. I recommend to just simplify things and only keep the panels open as you need them. If you're done with a panel, click out of it or throw it up here in the tabs so that it's out of your view. So you don't get too confused and overwhelmed with lots of panels on your workspace. Document window in the middle displays the file you're currently working on. Multiple open documents show up in tabs on the document window here. So do you see I've got lots of different tabs open, and these are just different projects and different assignments. So these are your tabs in your document window. If you want to close an image, you choose File, Close, and it will close one. So if you go to File and hit Close All, it will close them all. Or if you hit Close, it will ask you to specify, oh, do you want to close the one you're on? And you can say yes or no. If you'll notice, I'm a big proponent of saving work. So if you'll notice up here at the red, see the red, yellow, green, kind of like the little stop sign at the top left of my Photoshop screen. This right here, the red dot, the yellow dot, and the green dot. Do you guys see that? The red dot means you can close out of your document. The yellow dot allows you to minimize your screen, and the green dot allows you to expand your screen. But if you ever see a black a little black dot, I like to call it the eyeball, in the red circle, that means that your work has not been saved since you last made a change. So that's very important. And so if you hit save, you can do it two ways. Go to File, Save, or you can hit Command S if you're on a Mac, Control S if you're on a PC, and it will ask you what name do you want to give it and where do you want to put it, and you can specify where you want to put it. I recommend creating a folder for this class so that you can keep everything in that folder. My strategy is usually to save things to my desktop and organize them later. It's totally up to you what works for you. Just be able to find the assignments when you're done. That's the hard part. Are there any questions with getting familiar with the work area? I went a little fast, but this will all be covered in your Lecture 1 recording that's already up in the course homepage now. We won't have a lot of time to just dwell on this because we're going to get to the assignments, but I just want to make sure we're familiar with the basic layout of Photoshop. Are we good to go? Any questions? All right. If no questions, we'll go ahead and move further. The next thing that I want to teach you guys is to learn how to zoom and pan. And what that means is you can zoom in, zoom out, and scan your Photoshop document. So to change the view of an image, what you're going to need to know is to zoom in and out. Now the zoom tool is located on, I'll bring this toolbar here, all the way at the bottom here. Do you see that magnifying glass? It does just that. It magnifies and zooms in or out in the options bar. So you see when I hover over it, it zooms into the picture, and it also can zoom out. To access the toolbar, to access the zoom tool on your keyboard, you'll hit the key Z. Okay, and that will change your mouse. So now my mouse looks like a little magnifying glass with a plus sign. If I click on the artboard, it zooms way in. If I hold down Option or Alt, it will zoom out. So that's a little secret. Another keyboard shortcut is to use Command or Control plus or minus. That allows you to zoom in and zoom out. And once you've zoomed in, you can scroll left or right with your mouse. I highly recommend that you have or buy a mouse for this class. It is almost near to impossible to design anything with your laptop keypad, or I'm sorry, the laptop mouse pad. So please make sure that you buy a mouse. I think you can get one for $5 at Walmart. I mean, it's not a lot of money, and it's will save you a ton of time and frustration. All right, so that's how you zoom in and out. Now the hand tool is also located in the tools panel. See that little hand high-fiving us? If you click the hand tool, you'll notice your mouse changes to a hand. What this does is it allows you to pan around a large or zoomed in image. So in this case, I'm going to switch over here to the car, and I'm going to zoom in nice and close. But if I want to move this picture up a little bit, I just use the hand and kind of click and drag. Click and drag to move the car where I need it to go, or move the picture to the place that I'm trying to get to. And that's if I'm zoomed in quite a bit. If I'm zoomed out, you won't really need it, but this will allow me to move around my artboard or my image. Any questions about learning how to zoom and pan? All right, here's one that you'll want to pay attention to: how to undo a command. Have you ever done something in your design classes and you're like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have done that? Well, this is a keyboard command you're going to want to memorize. There's different places that you can access a way to undo a command, but the keyboard shortcut will save you a lot of time. To undo single or multiple steps, you'll want to use the history panel. You can click on your window menu and click on history, and that brings up this history panel right here. You can click and drag the bottom of any panel. It will expand the box for you. So you'll see it keeps track of all of my steps. I can check mark them. I can undo them. This is a great way to keep track of what I'm doing. So to undo the last thing you did, choose Edit. So you can go up here at the top and click Undo. So for instance, if I took my paintbrush and I put a big red X on here and just say, oops, go to my layers. Okay, there we go. Big red X. And let me, oops, on my brushes. There we go. All right, so I've got all these little circles all over my car, and I didn't want to do that. If I hit Command Z on my keyboard, if I'm on a Mac, or Control Z if I'm on a PC, it will undo that last move that I made. Now, say I made several clicks and several dots, hitting Command Z will only undo one step. You can go to Edit, Undo Brush, Edit, Step Backward, Edit, Step Backward. You can keep clicking Step Backward, or you can hold down Edit, or I'm sorry, you can hold down your Alt Command Z, and that will help you go backwards multiple times. You can also access that from the history panel and have it go backwards as well. Okay? So that's where you'll undo a command. To redo the last thing you did, choose Edit, Redo, or again, you can press Control Z if you're on a Windows, or Command Z if you're on a Mac. To undo multiple steps, you'll need to choose Edit, Step Backward multiple times, or select a step in the history panel that you want to go back to. So that is how you'll undo a command. And you'll probably want to remember that because we always make mistakes, even I do. So I've got that command down pat. Are there any questions on how to undo a command? All right, and well, last but not least, we're going to learn how to save our work. So we're going to use the save commands. Command S, if you're on a Mac, will save from the keyboard. Control S will save from the keyboard if you're on a PC. Or you can go up to the File drop-down menu and click, I believe it's File, Save. Click Save right there. And if you've already named it, it will simply save it, and the red circle, the red dot in your red circle, the black dot in your red circle at your top left here will disappear. So that means that your document is saved. Saving in Photoshop format will retain layers. So when your assignment asks you for your PSD file, what you're going to do is go to File, Save, or Save As, and it will ask you what format you want it in. You always want it to save Photoshop, because Photoshop is going to retain the layers, the type, and other editable Photoshop properties. If you save it in any other format, you will not be able to edit it, which will become problematic when you get feedback from me from the grading and we ask you to go make changes. If you didn't save it as a Photoshop document, you'll have to redo your work. So always, always make sure that it's saved as a Photoshop document. In fact, I believe it's requirement on the rubric. You get points on the rubric for submitting a Photoshop document because it allows me to verify your work. And so that's what we like to see. So it's best to just save your images in PSD format while you're still working on it. You can later save as a JPEG like this. You can change the format, or a PNG. Lots of different formats here. Will save as a standard image file that can be shared or opened by other programs, and you can even post these ones online. They're not editable, but when you're finished editing, save a copy in one of these formats too. We always want to make sure we save a raw Photoshop file. Photoshop. Okay? We want to be able to edit these images, and then you'll hit save. All right, so that is our basic Get to Know Photoshop tutorial for this week. Next, we're going to be jumping into our design tutorial, which is the assignment, how to do the assignment. We're going to also talk about masking a little bit. So does everyone have any questions about the basic tutorial? All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about masking. It's a term that you'll often hear in Photoshop, and you'll hear masking used. The reason why we promote it, even in the assessment one, we talk about we have a specific tutorial on how to mask, because it's an indestructible way of editing a picture, which means you can use masking to make changes, color changes, cutting, pasting, whatever you want to it, and it will preserve the original photo. A lot of novices will go in and make changes to the photo, and if they do not use the masking technique, they will damage the photo, and it will be irreparable, and you won't be able to undo those changes. So we really encourage you to learn masking first and up front. So I'll kind of do a quick demonstration on how to do masking. All right, so yeah, Missy, there is a way to rewatch this. So that's a good question. Like I said in the beginning, the recording will be posted on the course homepage under live sessions, and it will also be posted under the announcements section of the course homepage. Any of the recordings for the live lecture will be posted in those two places, and you can access them by Wednesday morning. Okay, so if you're not able to finish the lecture, you have to go, that's no problem. And Janitra, you tried to save your document and it wouldn't let you. I'm going to go ahead and close out of my screen. If you'll go ahead and share your screen one more time with me, and I'll step you through it. So go ahead and share your screen, Janitra. No problem, Misty. That's what it's there for. All right, Janitra, I'm going to unmute your mic. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, do you see that share screen button?
Yep.
If you'll click that and share your Photoshop with me, I can help step you through the saving your document.
The only thing that's on here is the share screen thingy.
Yeah, did you click that?
Yeah.
And it's still not letting you?
No. The other thing's not up here. The Photoshop thing is not up here.
Do you have desktop option to share your desktop?
Desktop one?
Yeah, try that. Maybe because oh, perfect. Okay, yeah, that's great. Okay, so you're trying to save it. So I see that you've already named it. And what are you trying to do? Save it?
Yeah, I tried to save it.
So you won't need to save it, because do you see that red circle at the top left? If you see a black dot in there, then that means your document hasn't been saved. But if there's no black dot in there, that means your document is already saved from the last time you did something to it. So it's already saved. It will only give you that option if you haven't saved it yet. So you're good.
Okay.
All right, great. Great job. But it is named and you have saved it somewhere, so that's good. All right, let's talk about masking. All right. So I'm going to show you a quick little demo. I'm going to close out of this. Okay, so I have here a red Mustang. Let me also mute you, Janitra. Sorry, there we go. So much background noise. Okay, so I've got this red Mustang here, and say that I wanted to make it green. I'm going to delete that. Okay. So I've got a green Mustang and I've got a red Mustang. I've got green and I've got red. Okay. Now with both of them showing on the green layer, I'm going to add a mask. The mask icon is here at the bottom where it says add layer mask. Looks like a little rectangle with a circle in the middle. That's the icon. When I do that, you'll notice a screen appears on the right-hand side. These two pictures are linked. And like I said before, masking is a great way to use non-destructive techniques, okay? And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to fill it with black. So I'm going to go to, now pay attention because this is where it gets a little tricky. I'm going to grab my paint bucket tool and I'm going to go to my menu, my window menu, make sure my color panel is open. And I'm going to click black. So I'm going to make sure that this layer is black. I'm going to click the picture. So now it turns it black. So if I want to add any green to this, instead of painting on the original picture, I'm going to just paint on the mask. So I'm going to grab my paintbrush and I'm going to go to, let's see, brushes. And I'm just going to pick one. And I'm going to go make sure that my brush is set to white. And I'm going to make sure my mask is selected. So that black square I need to make sure is selected. I'm going to select white for my brush, and I'm going to start painting over it. So I am not painting directly on the original image. You'll notice that the original image stays intact. I am only painting on the mask. So it's allowing me to add green wherever I want it to go. And that's because I changed the mask to black and the paintbrush to white. So whenever you need to revert back to the original, you make sure it's black. Anytime you want to change it, you'll paint over it with white. Masking is an excellent way to preserve your original image and not do anything damaging to it. So I'm just going to add green here, just like that. It's pretty simple. We'll go over masking a little bit more, but I just wanted to do a quick demo. In fact, our assessment 1 will kind of help us with understanding masking a little bit. All right, so I'll get this all colored in. It's not perfect, but if I click on this mask, you'll notice it's got the shape of the car, and that's because I was coloring on it. So when I hide my mask, you'll notice my red car is still intact. This original image is still intact. I was simply painting over the mask. All right. So that is masking made simple. I have a YouTube video link that I'll send you, or actually I'll put in the announcements so that you can see it done in live. But this is actually a great way to practice. So I would pull in a picture. So what I want you to do is go to Google and find a picture. It can be anything, or if you have a picture of yourself, that's fine. So I want you to open up a picture in Photoshop. And we're going to practice masking. So let me know when you have a mask in place. Or I'm sorry, when you have a picture in place, and then I'll help you with the masking. Just pull in a picture. Any picture will do. So when you have your picture, you're going to right click and go to duplicate layer. And you can, one can be a red copy, one could be a green copy. You'll hit OK. And then with your picture, you're going to go up to your image adjustments. And then when you click on hue and saturation, you can give it a different color. Just use the slider and give it a different color, kind of like I did. This will give it a different color. So you'll have 2 layers. One will be one color, one will be the other. And you'll want to preserve the original. So you'll change the color of only the second layer. So this will be layer 2. And then I want you to add a mask by clicking on this rectangle with the circle in the middle. This icon here at the bottom of your layers panel. Click the layer on the mask on the second layer. Then we're going to set it to black and paint over it with white. So let me know if any of you are struggling on that one, and I can help you. Do you guys have a picture already pulled in? Okay, no problem. It looks like we're at our 10-minute break point, so go ahead and pull in a picture in Photoshop, play around with it a little bit. When we come back in 10 minutes, we will start our assignment 1 and our assessment 1, and we'll get that going. All right, so this will give you some time to pull a picture in and kind of see if you can play around with the masking a little bit. Go ahead and do me a favor and download your assessment 1 JPEG image. It's under assessment 1 and it's in your assignment. If you click on that link, it will download an assessment 1. It's right here. This is what it looks like. It looks like a big coloring page. We're going to color today. We're using different tools, so this will be a lot of fun. So make sure you have this one opened as well in your Photoshop so we can move quickly and get through it. But this will be a lot of fun to do. And then we'll work on how to do our Photoshop tutorial. All right. So I will be back in 10 minutes. You guys can stretch your legs, get your pictures, find your pictures, and get that assessment 1 picture downloaded. And we will be right back. All right, so how are we doing? We're back from our break. Any questions before we jump into the assessment? You feeling confident? Feeling good? Okay, no problem. So, Misty, would you like to share your screen? I'll close out of mine. If you'll click the share screen button. So we're going to troubleshoot on how to get Photoshop to open an image. Great job. Okay, so are you trying to open a picture? Is that what you're trying to do? Or you're trying to start a new document? I'll unmute your mic so you can talk.
I'm trying to open a new picture. I saved them and it won't let me open anything.
Okay, so let's go to, where is your, are you on a Mac?
Yeah.
Okay, if you could go to your, find that picture and drag it into Photoshop for me, or you can click open. That would work too.
They're all right here, but it won't let me click on them.
Will it let you select it? That's strange. Maybe try it the other way and drag it into Photoshop. Will it let you do that? Not from this screen, but there we go.
How do I do it? Just drop it on?
Yeah, drop it into Photoshop. See if it'll let you. I don't know if you'll be able to do it from this window. You'll probably have to close out of it and then go find it. So hit cancel and
Yeah, I don't know where to go.
you saved it in your documents folder. Do you know where that is? Can you close out of Photoshop or just minimize it? Hit OK and then hit the yellow circle at your top left. We'll just bring it down, minimize it.
See, it won't let me do it. I don't know.
I can navigate you if you'll share your screen and share your desktop. I'll close out real quick. So if you'll share your screen, but instead of sharing Photoshop, you share your desktop. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so now if you click on your, go to search, I'm sorry, top right. Do you see that magnifying glass at the top right of your screen? If you'll click that magnifying glass and then do a search for what you named it. Was it cars? Is that what you named it? Oop. Go back. I tell you what, you could just click one and drag it to your desktop. That works too. Could be anyone at this point.
Now how do I take it? Just drop it on my desktop?
Yeah, just drop it on your desktop. Macs are perfect. Okay, so now let's, now you can drag that picture into Photoshop. Go ahead and minimize out of the screen. You no longer need this. Yeah, and then you'll just drag it into Photoshop, that picture, or go to open and then try to open it from your desktop. It should let you though. Yep, just click and drag. Perfect.
Yay.
Yeah, you did it. Good. I think it was just not liking the format the other picture was in, maybe. I'm not sure. But
Okay.
you should be able to just click open and find it that way. But if it does give you trouble, maybe try dragging the picture into Photoshop that way. So
Okay, thank you.
yeah, no problem. Great job. Okay, so that was a quick little demo on how to get a image to open up in Photoshop. It can be a little tricky. All right, so let's start with this. We're going to start with creating a background. I'm going to teach you how to create what's called a low poly background, and it's something that you've often seen maybe before. Let me show you. It kind of looks like this. We're going to create it from scratch, though, so I'm going to go here. So we've already got our 1024 pixels by 768 pixel artboard, and I'm going to start by using a shape. I'm going to click my shapes tool down here. I'm going to click on the rectangle tool so you can see that with my mouse. You draw a shape by clicking and dragging from corner to corner, just like that. And then I'm going to give it a color, but I want it to be a gradient. So I'm going to go to my window drop-down menu. I'm going to make sure that my color panel is selected. And then I'm going to go over here in my toolbar, and I'm going to find my gradient tool. It's usually hiding under the paint bucket tool, kind of in the middle of my toolbar. You see that? So I'll select my gradient. I'll double click it. I want to be able to pull it up. Go. Let's see. Oh, got it. I need to make this layer. I'm going to label this layer 1. I'm going to add a new layer. It's going to be layer 2. Oops. All right, I'm going to give it some color. I'm going to pick more of an orange. I'm going to grab my paint bucket tool. My paint bucket tool was hiding under my gradient tool. There's my orange there. And then my gradient tool, I'm going to double click on it. We'll open up my gradient panel. Right up here is where I can make adjustments. So I'm going to select any one of these. So I want to make adjustments to my gradient. So I'm going to click on the gradient itself. And it opens this gradient editor panel. And these little sliders can adjust how intense or how light a color is. But I want to change this color. So I'm going to click on this bottom right slider. And I'm going to go into my colors. I'm going to pick a color. So in this case, I'm probably going to do more of a light orange. And over here on the left, I'm going to do more of a darker. I think I even want it darker. There we go. All right. And now I've got my gradient. Now I can click and drag anywhere on this screen to create a different direction with my gradient. But I'm liking this one. This orange could probably stand to be a little lighter, so I might go in there and kind of lighten up the orange, make it a little yellower. There we go. All right, I'll hit OK. I've already got my gradient layer. So now on layer, I'll create a new layer. Or let's see, I might not need that layer, so we'll come back to it. So on layer 2, I'm going to go to, actually I'll stop here. Do you guys want to add a gradient? Add a gradient to your square and then we'll keep going. I want to make sure that everyone's catching up. So I'll back up a little bit. All right, so you've got your layers panel open. To add a color, you can use your color panel and your paintbrush tool. I created this gradient panel by clicking my gradient tool and then going into adjustments. Adjustments can be found on your window. Click on adjustments and then click at the bottom right. It's your gradient. This brings up your properties for your gradient. And clicking your gradient can allow you to customize it. I'm gonna kind of do something like that. And I'll hit OK. All right, message me if you need help creating a gradient. I want to make sure we know how to create a gradient. Okay, can you message me? Let me know. I'm going to swap these. Okay, I'm seeing messages come in. Let's take a look. Okay, so Janitra's asking in the announcement, it says the initial post discussion is due Tuesday with 250 words. It's due Wednesday, and the minimum is 150 words. So I'll go and check and make sure that announcement isn't misleading, but I'm basically saying get it in by Tuesday because Wednesday is the deadline. So kind of give yourself some extra time. But it only needs to be a minimum of 150 words. And make sure you cite your sources so that you get full credit for that. So let me help you with your gradient. We'll get it set up. All right, so Janitra, what I want to have you do is I'll close out of this. If you'll share your screen, and then I'll unmute your mic so that you can talk. You don't have to keep typing. So just click the share screen icon and we'll bring up your screen and I'll have you share your gradient. Okay, so we're going to create a gradient, which means we don't need the picture in here right now. So let's hide that picture. So go to your layers panel. Let's go to window at the top, drop down menu. Click on layers.
The one I just say layers.
So make sure it's checked. So click on it. There we go. Now your layer is pulled up there. Do you see that layers panel? Go ahead and hide your picture for now. Click on the eyeball. That will hide your picture. The layer with your picture on it. Perfect. If you click the eye, it will hide the view.
It's not doing it.
Oh, did you hit save on your panel? Here, go back to your panel. You could just hit delete or hit save. Oh, don't close out of that. Just hit, are you on a PC?
Yes.
Hit Control S.
I meant laptop. I meant Apple.
Apple. Okay, so hit Command S and place it. And you can name the file assignment 1. You'll have to go rename it to what the assignment 1 asks you to save it as, but just so you know what it is. And then hit save.
It's kind of loading.
Oh, that's okay. Mine takes forever when I have Zoom open at the same time. Okay, now will it let you hit save?
No. Oh, there it go.
Okay, now hit OK. All right, now click the eyeball on the left of the picture in your layers panel. That's going to hide the view. So it's still there, it's just hiding it. Now we're going to work on creating a gradient for our assignment 1. So if you'll click on the gradient tool on your toolbar, it's in the middle. It's that rectangle with shaded different color grays. Yep, that one. And then if you'll click on the board, click and drag on the board, will it let you? Oh, sorry, you gotta, first we need to unlock our background. So if you'll click the lock symbol on the right-hand side,
Oh. Oh.
Are you, oh, sorry, before I do this, did you open up the picture in this, or was this your new document that you created?
A new one.
It was the new one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. Okay, go ahead and create a new layer. It's the icon next to the trash can at the bottom right. It kind of looks like a little dog-eared page fold. Your layers panel at the bottom. See that layers tab, your panel? With your flower and your whiteboard. Yeah. Click on the new layer icon next to the trash can. It's on the left-hand side of the trash can. There you go. Click that to create a new layer. Okay. Now on that layer, I want you to add the gradient tool. So click and drag on it. But let's first, yeah, there you go.
Oh, was that supposed to do that?
That's fine. You're adding a gradient. So now we can tailor the gradient as to what we want it. So see at the top left, that little panel next to your gradient icon. See the blue and the white, that little slider panel at the top left.
This?
Top left by the little circles, red, yellow, green. The top left, there you go. Yeah. If you'll click on that blue and white panel, click there. And then probably pick, it doesn't matter, but pick one of those gradients. Click on one of them. Okay. Can you double click on it? Click one with just two colors. Will you select one with just two? The blue and the white's fine. That should be fine. Now double click on it. There we go. Okay, now there's a slider at the bottom left of the blue and white bar. So if you'll click the slider on the right-hand side.
This one?
Uh-huh. And you can double click on it. If you double click on it, it will allow you to change the color. So now you can customize this gradient to be whatever color you want it to be. So it's up to you what color you pick. I'd probably pick two colors that are pretty similar, like blue and green or red and yellow, or whatever colors are close to each other on the scale. So just pick a color and then hit OK. And then go to the other one, the left-hand side.
This one?
No, sorry, the left-hand side.
This one?
Bottom left. There you go, bottom left. Yeah, and then if you click that, you'll pick another color. And then hit OK. There you go. And then go ahead and click on that top white slider at the top right. You see that slider at the top of the bar? The little slider, yeah, on the right-hand side. Can you click and drag that off the screen? Can you click and drag it? Will it let you? Can you drag it off of the bar? There you go.
Oh.
All right, so just make sure that this is the colors you want, because this will be your background. You can go and adjust the colors if you'd like.
It's fine.
Fine? Okay, hit OK. And now grab your gradient tool and click and drag on your screen, a big line across your screen. There you go. Perfect. So now you just customized your gradient, and now it's given you, and you can change the direction of the gradient depending on where you click and drag your mouse. So kind of cool, huh?
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so we are going to go back into here. So now we've created our gradient. I'm just going to throw these layers in the garbage because I don't need them. Okay. So we only have our one layer. We've got our custom gradient. Now we're going to go up to filter at the top. Make sure you're on your layer with the gradient. And you're going to go to, let me move my screen here. Filter. And then you're going to go to pixelate down here. See where it says pixelate? And then you're going to click on crystallize. So we're going to create this low polygon look. You'll kind of use the slider here at the bottom to intensify how pixelated or how intense these polygons look, I'm going to kind of do it in the middle, probably 95, maybe 105. And you can kind of scroll to see what the dark and light parts look like. Once you've picked a good value for your cell size, you can hit OK. Now you can customize this background any way you like, but the assignment does ask that you use shapes, at least 3 or 4 different shapes. So here I'm using polygons, and I didn't even have to draw them. So that's a nice way to save time, right? So I've got my polygon background, and now I'm going to go back up to my filter and click on blur. Then I'm going to click on iris blur. See, oh, sorry, blur gallery, and then iris blur. This is going to give me a little circle here in the middle, which means it's going to focus on the inside and then blur out the exterior portions of the circle. So depending on how big I make the circle, it will have a different effect. And I can change the intensity of the blur by clicking on the inside of this little circle. And I don't want it too intense, so I'm just going to kind of tone it back a little bit. I can also rotate this to be a different shape. Kind of bring it in. I can also bring in these white dots to kind of add more focus to the center. I can bring in these, click on any of these little white anchor points and allow you to adjust the shape and size of your iris blur. All right, and that looks good to me. So now I'm going to create a second layer. So I'm going to go to, remember to save your work, click Save and Apply. There we go. So now I've got kind of blurred edges and I've focused on the center. That's exactly what I want. With my layers panel open, I'm going to click a new layer. In this new layer, I'm going to create a different color with my paint bucket tool. So I'm going to grab my paint bucket tool, hiding under the same layer the gradient tool is, and I'm going to pick a different color. In this case, I'm going to do a brighter orange, and I'm just going to, with my layer 3 selected, I'm going to click on it and kind of do a bright orange. I can adjust the shade of this later. There we go. Kind of tone it back a little bit. There's a darker, deeper orange. Perfect. So now you can see I've got my gradient and my polygon layer on layer 2, and then my orange layer on layer 3. So now I'm going to go to Effects here at the bottom of my layers panel, and I want the orange layer selected. Click on Effects. Then I'm going to click on Gradient Overlay right down here. Lots of little steps, and it brings up this this panel here. I'm going to select red and blue. Click on this panel here. I'll do some red. Hit OK, and a little bit of blue, and I'll hit OK. So I've got this little effect going on. And then the opacity, let's see. Let's see, I can also change the opacity a little bit. There we go. I can bring down the opacity. So I've got the blue hues and the deep red hues. I'm kind of adjusting that opacity, but you can still see my polygon background. So it gives a really nice blend of colors. And now this is where you can add shapes. You've got a really nice background that you customized already. The shapes you can draw a square, circle, polygon tool, use the lines as a shape, or you can click on custom shape. And I like custom shape because if you select custom shape, here at the top where it says shape, there's all different kinds of cool shapes you can use. So like I like this light bulb one. And if I hold down Shift when I click and drag, it prevents me from squishing and skewing my light bulb. It constrains the proportions a little bit, so I like that. So I'm going to kind of center this, position it in the center. I can change this to white if I wanted. can go back to my shapes. And the fill I can change to white. If I want to change my color of my shape, I can do that. A neat thing that you can do also is under your blending modes, this little drop-down menu that says normal on your layers panel, this allows you to give a really different effect. So I can change the blending mode of this, like overlay, that kind of creates a really transparent, cool looking shape. You'll kind of have to play around with them to see what each one does. But I liked I like soft light, and I even like overlay. So I'll probably use overlay, kind of keep that. You can use the type tool, which is the T on your toolbar, and you can click and drag a type box. And I can put the year, 2018, and I can give it, bear with me, I can change the font up here. Every time you choose a tool on the toolbar, your tool settings will show up at the top of your window panel here. So that's really handy. So I'm going to just click a simple date here. I'll make sure that the font is white. And then I'm going to use the same blending mode that I did for my light bulb. And I'm going to go to overlay. So they match, they look nice. Now, if later I decide I want a smaller light bulb or a smaller text box, the way that I adjust these is if I click on the particular layer. So if I want to adjust my shape, I'll click on my shapes layer, and I'll go up to Edit, Transform. And if I click on Scale, that will allow me to scale it down or scale it up. So for this shape, I'm just going to center it. I'm going to click on my type layer. You'll have to save it before you can move on. Go to my type layer. And same thing. I'm going to resize it. So I'm going to go to Edit. You can click on Free Transform or Transform. Transform will allow me to hold down Shift and kind of bring it down a little bit. All right. Hit apply. So there's that shape. I could also add a lot of different shapes, and I'll show you another cool trick in another tutorial. It's called the bokeh background brush. So we'll have to learn how to create a brush, but I think that will be kind of confusing. But you could add different shapes. We can use a ellipse tool and draw circles. And with each shape, you can change the opacity of them. If you hold down your Alt or Option button, you can click and drag any of these shapes, and they will make copies of them. So that's kind of nice. I'm going to grab my Shapes tool again. I'm going to grab a circle. This one, I'm going to change the fill up here to white. And that will allow me to do the same effect. And I'm going to change the transparency so you can see through it. I'm going to kind of click over here, randomly place these. And then draw another circle. Anyways, you can kind of play around with what you want your background to look like. I'm just doing little circles, which are kind of fun. But this gives you basic background, a basic custom background, and then what you do with your shapes is up to you. So this is how we tackle assignment 1. I will put a shorter demo, probably by Thursday, up on how to do this one. This one's a fun one. Are there any questions before we move on to assessment 1? I want to make sure we cover that one real quick before we leave. Any questions? Are we stuck? Feel okay, feeling confident. Come tomorrow to the multi-session too if you need some help, because that will be a great way for me to kind of spend a little bit more time with you, work one-on-one, and get these assignments done. All right, so I'm going to close out of this assignment. I'm going to move to the assessment one. Go ahead and pull this up in your Photoshop. The way you do that is go to File, Open, and then find where you saved it. And in this case, I saved it to my downloads folder. So I just go find it under my downloads, click it, and it will open up. When it does open up, you're going to want to save it as DES104 Assessment 1, then your first and last name, okay? Save it as a Photoshop file and hit Save. So what we're going to do here is kind of the same thing. We are going to be learning how to do masks, and I'm going to pull up the assessment so I can make sure I don't steer you guys wrong. I'm going to make sure I have everything up. All right, so we've downloaded the picture, we've opened the file in Photoshop, we saved it as the right name. We're going to unlock the background layer and change the image blending mode to multiply. So we're going to get our layers panel open. I'm going to move it here in the middle so you can see what I'm doing. So it first asks you to unlock the background. So if you see a little lock on the right-hand side of this layer, just double-click it and it will unlock the layer. Okay, I've already done that, so that step is done. Then we're going to go to the blending modes right here. And we're going to click multiply. So make sure that your blending mode says multiply. Then you're going to create a new layer underneath the image. Now you'll notice when I click new layer, it puts it on the top of my coloring page. I'm going to click and drag it down so it now is positioned below my original layer. Okay, so we want the new layer to be underneath the image. We're going to isolate areas of the illustration using different selection tools. And we haven't really talked about the selection tools, but we're about to use them. So this will be kind of fun. You're going to use the paint bucket tool to colorize the images on the layers. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to deselect here. All right, so you want to make sure that all your coloring is being done on your other layers. You never want to color on layers on your original layer. So I'm going to label this original layer. So you never want to do any coloring on the original layer. If you want to do more coloring, you're just going to keep adding more layers. We need you to use at least 4 different selection techniques. Use at least 4 different colors and make your coloring clean and interesting. So we'll start with layer 1. I'm going to grab my first selection tool, will be the quick selection tool. You can adjust the size of your selection tool by going up here at the top. Once your tool is selected, all your presets are here at the top. So you'll click here and you can adjust the size. You can kind of bring it down a little bit. And this will allow you to select portions of your image. You'll have to do it one at a time, or you can select big portions at a time. So like, for example, I want this snake-looking portion selected. So I'm going to kind of try to click in there. All right, with this little section selected, I'm going to now pick a color. I'm going to grab my paint bucket tool. I'm going to make sure my color panel is open. I'm going to make sure this is purple. And then I'm going to click inside with my paint bucket tool. So you can select multiple sections at one time. The quick selection tool is nice because if it was a big picture, it would be able to select big portions. But when you have very small little edges, you'll notice that it's not very clean. So it's not my favorite tool to use on an image like this. You need to make sure that you had a very big image. But I could also use my paint bucket tool to color in here. If you ever want to deselect off of something, just hit Command D. Okay, and then I'm going to use another tool. Another tool that's handy is called the polygon lasso tool or the magnetic lasso tool. The magnetic lasso tool kind of latches itself to the edges of certain pictures. So if I use this magnetic lasso tool, I don't have to click anything. I'm just simply moving my mouse. And notice how it's kind of gravitating toward the edge. It detects any sort of edge and it will help you trace. So what I'm going to do is select the interior of this picture and give this a color. And I'm just kind of tracing the edge of my picture a little bit. So this magnetic lasso tool is very helpful if you have very defined edges. This will not work if edges are blurry or if they blend into each other, because unfortunately it doesn't do a good job of deciphering between that. But if you have very hard edges like this is a black edge and it's easy to detect. This will allow you to easily kind of trace. I'm just going around. Kind of trying to get out of there. I kind of messed up on that part, but I'm just trying to go quick. Anyways, so I'm kind of moving my mouse along, letting it grab anything it can. You gotta have to go slow. If you go too fast, it'll kind of jump. Almost there. The idea here is to get back to the original point. So I'm tracing this entire interior portion of this picture. And notice how I'm on layer 1 to do all of my coloring and tracing. I'm going around here, almost back to square one, and then I'm going to click on the original point. Okay, and I'm going to grab my paint bucket tool. There we go. Oops, messed it up. I'll use my quick selection tool and I'll just kind of highlight. All right, there we go. Now I'm going to grab my paint bucket tool. I'll pick a different color. So it's going to be blue. Okay. You can click Command D to deselect or Control D to let the dotted line deselect off of your page. Now, another tool you can use is the lasso tool. This one you'll have to manually trace. You'll have to click and hold the mouse down. Unlike the magnetic tool where you didn't have to hold it down, it kind of detected the edges for you. This one's a manual way to trace. So in this case, I'm going to trace this entire little heart. It's not as accurate, so it's a little harder. I'll grab the, there you go. See that? Maybe I'll use red, change the color. There you go. The magic wand will select bigger portions of the picture that will allow you to make changes in color. Grab your paint bucket tool, click, and it will highlight. So it's a lot of fun, and I want you to experiment with it. You can adjust, if you want a lighter version of that color. Play around with the color picker, play around with the fills. Be sure to use your paintbrush. But before we end, are there any questions? Because I want to make sure that we feel confident about this assignment. Please be aware we want to use any altering on layer 1, because remember, this is masking. We're not going to make any changes to our original layer. So if I hide my layer 1, you'll notice that no damage was done on this original layer. So that's pretty cool. All right. So remember, just create layer 1. Grab you can either use your quick selection tool to grab small portions of the picture. Like this. You can also click on your lasso tools. Polygon lasso is similar to the magnetic lasso or the lasso tool, but this one has straight edges, so it really wouldn't work for a design like this. So I recommend either using the magnetic lasso or the lasso tool. The magnetic lasso will automatically kind of conform to the edges. You just have to go back to that original point before you can paint, like that. But I want you guys to have some fun with this, play around with it, and let me know if you have any questions. So are there any questions before we go back to the slides? No questions? Okay. Well, time flies when you're having fun. So I'm going to go back to the slides. Let me see if I can get them pulled up. Here we go. Okay, so we were going to talk about the difference between raster and vector artwork. And you'll notice that if I zoom in quite a bit on these slides, that if you were to have a picture open up in Photoshop, the more you zoomed in, the more little squares you would see would make up this image, and it would look blurry, and it would start to look what we call pixelated. So it loses its quality the more that you zoom in. So as I'm zooming into the screen, you'll notice it won't let me go any further, but the more I zoom in, the more pixels you see. So the pixels are those little tiny squares that make up the artwork. It's filled in coloring for you. And have you ever worked in InDesign or Illustrator before? I'm just wondering, because in Illustrator, you create vectors. All right, so pictures that we often bring into Photoshop are considered raster images. They're called raster images, and they're made up of these little pixels. So when you paint with pixels, basically it's a single point or the smallest single element in a display. So if you zoom into a raster image or a photograph or a graphic that is a raster image, you may start to see a lot of little tiny squares. But if you were to work in Illustrator, say that software is used to create vector images, and vector images are mathematical calculations from one point to the other. So no matter how far in you zoom, the picture or the image will never lose its quality, and you will never see pixels. So from one point to another, that form lines and shapes, and it creates a very clean look. So that's why we use vector images for billboards, because you have to blow those things up so big, and they still retain their quality. But raster pixelated images lose quality as you zoom in. And vector images don't. You can scale them up or down as big or as small as you'd like, and they don't affect the quality or the clarity of the image. So that's the main difference between raster versus vector. As the basis of nearly every image format worth using, pixels and vectors are the broad categories of modern 2D image files. And so pixel and raster images are often debated, and we talk about a lot in the discussion. But it's important to know, if you're ever doing any graphic design work at all, you definitely want to use vector images in place of the raster images, just depending on the job that you're designing for. So downloading copy-free Write images, we'll learn a little bit more about this. We don't need to know this at this point. I'll kind of talk about it in week 4. But we talked about using 4 techniques for making selections. We talked about using the magnetic lasso tool, the lasso tool, the quick selection tool, and we also talked about using the polygon tool if we needed, or the magic wand. So I want you to use that for your assessment 1. We talked a little bit about these. We didn't get into copying or erasing, but we'll get into there. The adjustment layers we worked with a little bit. What I did want to show you before we closed is how to save your document. I think sometimes that gets us on that last step. So I'm going to share Photoshop one more time. So say you're done coloring your page, your assessment 1. You want to save your file as a PSD. Then you're going to go to File, Save As, and choose JPEG with 100%. So down here under Format, we're going to change it to be a JPEG, and then hit Save. Okay? You'll want to keep a copy of your PSD file, and you'll also keep a copy of your JPEG, but you only need to send me your JPEG for the, I believe, for the assessment. Okay? So that is all I need, is the JPEG. Now, for your assignment 1, that one might be a little bit different. No, you know what? Even for the assignment one, I only need to see the JPEG. So just upload your JPEGs and I think we'll be good. Save your PSD files though, because you will probably need those to make changes and feedback. And on another note on that, I allow one resubmission on your assignments so long as you get them in before the end of the mod. So I actually only accept them up to a week late as well. So make sure you get those in throughout the mod. I'll give you some feedback and critiques. If you make those changes and resubmit them, you can get a better grade or earn more points on your assignment. So if you didn't do so great this first week, don't worry. I offer that option to kind of help you guys out. I think it's important, and I think we learn from correcting our mistakes too. And nobody ever gets anything right on the first try anyways. And I also think it's real world experience, because when you're working with clients in the design world, the client almost always comes back with changes or things they want to add to it. And so it just gets you in the habit of being used to taking the critique and the feedback and then making it and then resubmitting. So I like to offer you that opportunity. Well, we are done for tonight. Are there any questions before we end? Anything you want to know? Anything that you're stumped on? If you're feeling confident, great. I want you to go try to tackle this assignment. It shouldn't take too long. Remember, you just need 4 colors and you need to use at least 4 of the tools we talked about today on the coloring page. Now, on the assignment 1, you do need to know how to create a custom background, and you'll be adding shapes. You see the student examples as kind of a guide for what will be expected. And I will try to post tutorials soon, shorter versions of these, probably by Thursday. So keep an eye out for that as well. Come visit me tomorrow during the multi-session. I will be here from 7:30 to 9:30 Mountain Standard Time. I would love to meet you. I would love to help you with these assignments. And if you get stuck, I'd love to step you through them. So please come visit me. If you're not able to make the time of my multi-session, you're welcome to join any of the multi-sessions. The schedules have been posted under the announcements. And if you need specific help with something, please go visit the Student Success Center. They are there to help you when I'm not available. And then you can also reach out to Wanda Bryant, our learning coach. She is great, and she's there also to help you succeed. So you have lots of resources at your disposal. So let me know if there's anything I can do to help with this assignment, but don't wait till the last minute. I'm more able to help when we have more time, okay? Thank you for coming. It's been great meeting you guys, and I'm excited to see what you turn in. Have a great night. Thanks, Denitra. See you later.